It is just an honor to be at the 15th annual Towning meeting, and I'm so honored to be doing a podcast with Debra Engelhardt-Nash and her husband, Ross Nash, and it's Zach's 22nd birthday, and Zach's working on his birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Zach.
birthday, Zach.
Happy birthday.
What do you want for your birthday other than the chance to do a podcast with Deborah?
Yeah.
Oh, to go to the race car place.
Okay, we'll go to the race car place. We
Oh,
will.
the race cars.
Yeah.
You can go and drive the NASCAR.
Well, hey, I want to start out with it's a huge honor for you. I've podcasted you before.
Yeah.
You were both one of my earliest idols and mentors.
Because we're old.
Thank you.
But seriously, I mean, you were teaching me how to do full mouth dentistry. I remember when I was getting my FAGD and MAGD. I think I saw you 3 or 4 times.
Thank you.
And here I was in Phoenix, doing 1-2 dentistry, and here you're doing the whole damn arch. And I'm just sitting there like, damn. And but I want to start out. I want to start out with we call it dentistry uncensored. We don't like to talk about anything that everybody agrees about. But when you and I got out of school, Ross, I do a crown, charge $1,000, and at the Delta they pay half. I do a molar root canal, charge $1,000, send it to Delta, they pay 80%. Here I am still practicing dentistry 30 years later. Now Delta gives me the fee, and those PPOs, 82% of the dentists take PPOs, and that crown that used to be $1,000 30 years ago is $600 to $800. That root canal I did 30 years ago for $1,000 now $600 to $800, and so when I got out of school, the number one expense was labor, 28%. Now the number one expense is adjusted production off of your fee schedule to the PPO, which is 42%.
Yeah.
So now you got 42% adjusted production.
Right.
And then I still got the 28% labor because my staff gets a raise every time the Earth goes around the sun for some God-known reason. I guess it's based on the zodiac. And so I'm just asked you to, these kids are out there, and I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, yeah, we're lucky. We graduated in the golden years. Mm. And right now, she asks all the time, did she make a mistake becoming a dentist? She's a dentist right now. She's got $350,000 in student loans, and she's working at Aspen. What would you tell that young lady?
I'd say get some good experience. Now, Deborah will tell you that we know corporate dentistry's here, and it serves a purpose, and it's a service. But there's lots of room for fee-for-service practice, and that's what I have. I decided to kind of get out of that rat race, 25 years ago. I stopped taking insurance.
Yeah, but you're in really a rich part of the world. I mean, you're
That's
in
not true.
You're in downtown. What is it, Manhattan, L.A.?
No, we're in Huntersville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Huntersville, North Carolina.
It's
Yeah.
a suburb. It's
suburb
it's
of Charlotte.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's in between. It's in between money.
It's in between money.
It's in between money on the lake, and it's in
I've
between
never
the
heard
money
that.
down.
That
We're
is
right in
adorable.
between the two.
Yeah.
So,
but the point being is that Deborah and I both believe that there's still lots of room for fee-for-service practices. In fact, I don't think they're ever going to go away because you're limited sometimes when you get into corporate groups because you have certain materials you have to use, you have certain systems you have to go through, etc. And I think, like I said, I'm not down talking that at all. I think they do a wonderful service. But it certainly doesn't fit the way I want to practice. And I have to tell you, we have a teaching institute, and we teach the different types of things young people and old people.
And what is the
can do.
www of that institute? See, I know what she's thinking before.
Oh.
Institute.
No, it's just, thenashinstitute.com.
oh, there you go.
And I'm not here to peddle my goods there. I just want you to know that.
Well, you should be. You're just old school. But
Yeah,
smart people
thank you.
sell their stuff. But anyway, continue.
In our programs that we've designed, we talk about direct composites, indirect restorations, and full mouth. Clinical courses, hands-on type courses. And, that's where it's at for me. I love helping, especially the younger dentists, find out what you can do today, because it's quite amazing.
I think clinically, what's important, and if you're talking about, and we've had doctors who've come to the Institute who are in a Heartland or an Aspen or a Dental Works, and got out and they went into these environments because they had a student loan, they were promised education, they were promised a patient base, and they're learning. And I think, the type of dentistry that we know how to do requires a level of confidence. I mean, as a dentist, not only do I have to have the tactile skill, I have to have the ability to do it. So I have to learn how to do it. I have to hone my skills. After dental school is the beginning. That's the launching pad. That's the starting place. So I have to have the confidence. I have to have the clinical aptitude and the clinical attitude. So I have to have the aptitude and the attitude to do it well, so that when I am talking to a patient, I am talking about elective treatment. And let's face it, we just talked about insurance and what insurance will and will not pay. So how do I help that patient understand and appreciate that we will do our best to help you receive whatever insurance allowance you have coming, as long as it will not compromise our standard of care. And our standard of care is above and beyond what your allowance will provide. So now it goes to that next step of having the confidence to be able to talk to the patient about, we will help you with your dental allowance. But we also want to raise the bar on our standard.
You know what I call hypocrisy on with corporate is when we were young, so many of my classmates went and did 4 years in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Indian Public Health Service, and that was all cool. Well, now these kids go do 4 years, but instead of Army, Navy, Air Force, all those other, they do corporate. And I look at it like, you could learn a lot 4 years in the Army, Navy, Indian Public Health, because when you come out of school, you need to. It's like in football, you need to learn a block, a tackle, a pass. You need to learn the basics, and you can't do a good crown prep if you've never done 100. And when you do 200, you'll be twice as good as when you did 100. And same with filling. So I go in, and the other thing about corporate is you taught me so much practice management when I got out of school. And how could you not learn practice management if you're working in a dental office that's owned in a chain of 400?
And you have a supervisor.
They got to have some systems in there.
Yeah, they have great systems.
Yeah.
But remember, and I think, what is it in the book, The Outliers? He says in order to master something,
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours. They're talking about, they use the Beatles as the example. You think the Beatles just were an overnight success. How many hours did they put in? How many times did they play for free before they got good?
Well, it's also, when did you graduate?
87.
Okay, I was 78. But if you look back there were only 4 basic materials you had to master. Amalgam, gold, porcelain fused to metal. Really, that's it. 3. Composites weren't really big before the early 80s. But the nice thing about me, that's when I started, 1978. And that's when all of these wonderful materials started to come out. And I was a polymer engineer before I went to dental school, so I had some knowledge about plastics, and I realized these were going to be good. I was young, excited. I loved being a dentist. I had a nice practice placing amalgams and gold and porcelain fused to metal and preventive and all that type of thing. But when Light Care Composites came out, it changed the industry. You remember. And everything changed. Now we could rebuild teeth, not only for health and function, which is our responsibility as doctors, but we could help patients with their self-esteem. In a single appointment, we could change a tooth that, according to the patient, looked ugly and make it beautiful. And I was so excited about that. And I just started early in my career focusing on what can I do for my patients that'll give them the health and function I'm responsible for as a doctor and the aesthetics they're looking for. Comes down to ceramics and composites today, and we have so many more things we can offer. We've got lithium disilicate, we've got zirconium, we've got composite, we have implants. There's so much the dentists today have to know compared to what you and I had to know coming out of dental school. So continuing education is a need.
How would you walk her from one tooth dentistry? I mean, the bottom line is if you look at the facts, most crowns are done one at a time, and they're done on a 6-year molar. Most root canals are done on a 6-year molar. The number one implant replacement is a 6-year molar. So most of who you're talking to is doing one tooth, first molar dentistry. How does she go from one tooth to one quadrant to one full mouth? And I'm already telling you the first question she's going to say. She's going to say they didn't teach me anything about TMJ or occlusion when I got out of school. And what's paralyzing her is she sees all the old dogs like us. They either went CR, Dawson, Pankey, or they went neuromuscular, and so she's kind of frozen there. So walk her through. How do I go from doing first molar dentistry to quad to full mouth? And as far as this occlusion stuff, where did I learn occlusion? And would you go CR or neuromuscular?
Ooh.
They email me. I get 300 emails a day, Russ. I know what they're at.
Question I can answer. No.
He's got an answer.
Was that too many questions at once?
Well, that was like 10 questions in one
know.
question. But as far as occlusion, you got to learn it. I don't care if you go to Pankey or Dawson or LBI. You've got to know occlusion because that's what makes things work or not. Now, of course, you have to have a good restoration. So it's absolutely essential that you build your skills. But from there, you need to understand occlusion. And going from single crowns, which most people do, you're right. Patients come in, they've got a filling they need to replace, and you're maintaining. But if you get the experience, and you do, one tooth at a time, you certainly and suddenly actually begin to learn how to do 2 and 3. But then you've got to think about the other side of the arch because there's occlusion. So number 1 is to take a course in occlusion, and I don't care who you take it from, and study it. I've read Dawson's book, it's this thick, twice. Nothing better. I don't agree with everything Peter Dawson says, but who am I to disagree with Peter Dawson,
Well, he looks like you two.
Well, it's like us.
Have you ever noticed the greatest dentists are always bald?
Well-
Have you noticed that? I've really noticed that. Ross Nash, Peter Dawson. Need I say any more?
I thought it was the greatest men were always bald.
Hey, I have to say something about the communication skill, too,
Yes.
because we're talking about the single crown. We're talking about crowns. We're talking about dentistry in general. Many times, dentists will apologize to the patient that they found a solution. So they'll say, "Oh, Howard, I'm so sorry. You've got a tooth situation here, and it's going to need a crown." And you apologize for that, as opposed to saying, "Howard, you got a situation here that I have a solution for. I got good news for you. I'm going to be able to take care of that. I'm going to be able to save that tooth for you." And we have a tendency to do the, "Oh, I'm so sorry," the apology thing. And I'm really, really sorry because your insurance is only going to pay half of it. And I'm really, really sorry because I'm only going to pay half of this fee and my fee's higher. And there's just all this apology around the dentistry as opposed to the good news about the dentistry. And I think that dentists have to almost change their attitude of your patients came to you for you to take them to a better place. And there was a theory long ago, even I've been around a long time, that your patients come in hoping you don't find anything wrong, and I think that's a bad way to start. So if you have that attitude of thinking that the patient is hoping you don't find anything wrong, you're not going to look for anything, and you're not going to tell them what hope you have for them. So I think the dentists have to change the attitude of the patient came to you for you to take them to a better place. And the attitude is, I have good news, I can do that for you.
Okay, so if they're on your website, thenashinstitute.com, so you teach business classes there, and then he teach clinical classes?
Yes, that's the
so
way
back
we
to your original question, do you teach a TMJ class?
He teaches a full mouth rehab
I don't
class
teach TMJ. I teach occlusion.
Okay.
to keep him out of TMJ.
Yeah, and that's not my expertise.
Walk them through the app. What are they going to find on their app? So if I go to the menu, upcoming events, about the Nash, why the Nash, have us speak, contact. What do you have different courses?
Yes, that's what I was saying before. I set it up because I knew the things I needed to learn, starting with direct composites, and I believe the dentist today who is good with direct composites is going to be more successful than the one that's not, because people can afford it. It's an affordable way to do aesthetic dentistry.
As opposed to indirect
Of course,
CAD/CAM.
indirect, which has more expense.
Yeah.
So I set up a 2-day course, hands-on course on direct composites. Anterior, posterior, veneers, and frankly, in my practice today, which is full-time, about 50% of my work is direct. That wasn't the way it was 15 years ago. It was almost all indirect. But patients can afford direct. So that's the important first thing. And then indirect restorations, in my opinion, that's the Cadillac most of the time, because ceramics are just the most beautiful tooth-like material, and they're durable, long-lasting, stain-resistant. More expensive. It costs more to produce.
But here's what she says to me. I got $350,000 student loans.
No.
And if I go buy a CEREC machine, that's another $150. And I buy a CBCT, that's another 100. And I get another laser, she could double her student loan debt in 3 purchases. So her direct question is, do I need to buy a CAD cam to be a high quality dentist like you?
No, Howard. And as a matter of fact, I recommend that you go with your lab. You work with your lab until you get proficient. There may be a time in your practice where she would like to do an in-house crown and use CAD cam. And of course, everybody knows that's the way it's going for the future. But the way to get the experience is work with the labs, and that's what I've done.
Because they can help you.
What's the oral scanner from 3M? Trios? Or,
Yes.
No, is it?
I think it is, but I mean, they're
no,
phenomenal.
Trios is the
Is their competitor.
is their competitor.
Yeah.
What's the name from 3M
Gosh, I
called?
forgot.
3M scanner. The question being is,
I think you need to learn.
I mean, I don't get it. So like 3M, and this is why we call it Dentistry Uncensored. I mean, 3M's probably the largest advertiser in Dentaltown magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I have to throw them under a bus at least 3 times a show. But I just tell it like it is. You know, they got a $17,000 oral scanner, and it costs me $17 to take an Impergum impression. So I take a $17 Impergum impression and send it to my lab man. He makes me a crown. And who do you think makes a better crown? My lab man, who's 5 years older than me, and I've been using since '87, or my assistant on a CEREC machine? No, I'm asking you, who do you think makes a better crown?
Well, the one that does it every day, the lab.
10 times, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't get it. It's like they always have to spend all their money.
I'll tell you a quick story about this. I had a client, brand new, no patients, brand new practice. I walk into his office, and he's decorated it beautifully, and in there is a CEREC machine. And I said, "Why did you buy this now?" It's like at the time it was like $85,000 machine, and he said, "Well, it's going to help me do better dentistry." I said, "No, it isn't." I said, "You can't afford this right now. Send it back. Send it back." And he didn't. And then later, about 3 months later, he sent it back. He said it was premature. It was absolutely premature. And then you have to look at facility. Do I have the facility to do it? Now I have to train people. So now I have a trained assistant who knows how to do the CEREC. What if he or she leaves? Now I got to train. I mean, who am I going to keep? I mean, now are they like with me for life because they're the only person who knows how to do the CEREC machine and use the CAD CAM machine? And what am I doing? Well, that's not happening. So there's too many. I think there's too many moving parts there. I will say about 3M and all the digital scanners, what it does eliminate is storage of models. Now you're storing your models in a computer, not in a box in a storeroom.
That's true.
That's an
Listen,
advantage.
there's no question the industry is going digital. No question about it. But I think that what my colleagues, my younger colleagues, I would recommend is develop your skills with the lab now. You can always move into digital. Of course, you millennials are extremely good with technology. You know, what we had to do is we had to learn to use our hands. It's the hand skills that you need to develop along with the technology, and then you are going to be extremely successful.
So you've been teaching direct composites, and I mean, I saw you teach me direct composites in '87. So one of your courses at on your website is direct composites.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One's on occlusion.
Well, no, it goes from direct composites, and then they're all 2-day hands-on courses. The second course, it doesn't. By the way, you don't have to. You can take any one of these courses, and it's a course in itself. But they're continuing.
You don't have to take them in order.
No.
No.
All right.
But the other one is indirect restorations, because there's so much you can do with porcelain laminates, all ceramic crowns, zirconium, lithium disilicate, unbelievable things. So we have a 2-day course on that. And then
You didn't even mention. I only have 7 restorations in my mouth. They're all gold. You
Well-
didn't even mention gold at indirect.
well, it's because,
Are we dinosaurs?
It's the best material we have. Everybody knows that, but patients don't want it today. So we don't.
Deborah,
get
why do
very good.
women hang gold in their ears, their nose, their tongue,
Yeah.
their ring, their navel, their ankle? Why do women cover their whole body with gold and then won't let me do a gold crown on their molar?
Because they're not doing that to people. They're not going, look at my gold crown. But they are doing this to people and this to people.
But why is that? It's a precious metal.
Yeah.
You decorate your whole body with
Hey,
it.
we agree. It's a phenomenal material. It self-adjusts.
I don't know why
Burnish
that
the
is.
You know,
margin
3
close.
times a woman said no, but it was the second molar. The crown root was so low, I had no room. I got 3 women out there that I still see on recall from 10, 20, 30 years ago that I did a gold crown or a second
Sure.
molar, and she ain't even seen it yet. Because
know.
I knew she'd never
Hey,
know it.
You guys, it's the best material, but I know your patients want white. We got
Maybe
some
you need to
good
market
white
it
material.
differently.
But let me tell you the problem I don't like about all the composite courses. My pet peeve with the composite courses is the insurance data is clear that whenever you diagnose 100 cavities, you drill, fill, and bill 38. And all you want to talk about is bleaching, bonding, which bonding agent, what material to use, what light. You want to learn everything from Ross about how to do the 38% when 2 out of your 3 of your patients walk out and they didn't even get treatment, which is where you come in, because I have seen 100 times 2 dentists in the same building, same number of charts, same ops. 1 for every 3 patients has a cavity does 2. And the guy next door does 1. I firmly believe that 1 in 3 consumers aren't going to buy. I don't care if they're looking at your Gucci purse, your A6 tennis shoes. They ain't buying. But I believe after 30 years on dental offices, 1 in 3 buy, always buy. 1 in 3 never buy. But it's that guy or gal that gets that 1 in the middle, who gets their treatment plan acceptance from 1/3 to 2/3. Mm-hmm. So why do you want to spend all your time learning how Ross can teach you how to do a perfect 1/3 when you could teach him how to do a perfect 2/3? And I wish dentistry, I would trade all the dental materials in the world if we'd remove all the decay and just pack them with butter. I think that would be better for the country. Say, okay, we're not going to do any more restorations, but we are going to remove 100% of decay. Because right now, all the noise is how to fix the 1/3 these dentists can convince to get treatment.
That's true. Well, that's why we came up with the indirect course. Exactly right. Direct, indirect, and full mouth. That's my 3rd clinical course. So I've got 3 clinical courses. 6 days is the continuum, or you can take any course. Of course, you can't do it without the patient saying yes, and that's why Debra has dental business
Here's
school.
what you two
And
have,
she,
and a lot
she
of
does the
dentists
United
have.
way. She beats them in the chair
Yeah.
until she has to drag them out to the
But
front.
here's what you two have, and it's very obvious to everybody what you two have, and what a lot of dentists have that some dentists don't. Because 80% of the reason why patients accept a treatment plan is based on a relationship you develop. Whether you say, listen, I'm putting this in your mouth whether you like it or not, and whether he does the Southern gentleman thing and tells them they're beautiful and they're going to be even more beautiful. It's about relationship. I choose 2 out of 3 because we have a relationship. I choose 1 out of 3 because we don't have a relationship, and it's about what insurance will cover. There's a difference. I buy from people that I like, and we don't. Some people say, oh, we're talking about buying dentistry. Yeah, I buy from people that I like and people I care about and people I know care about me. And so for me, it's 80%, and some people say it's over almost 85%. Well, the reason why I choose dentistry is based on the relationships that are developed. So a lot of these young doctors, not only they need to learn the skill, they need to have the competence, so they have the confidence, so they can approach the patient in such a way and establish relationship with that patient. So that the patient says, wow, I really like this people. And you don't have a whole lot of time to do that. You have less than 10 seconds. And come on, you size someone up in, 8 seconds or less? And you know. So they got to figure out, how do I put it all together? That's not an easy task. That requires mentors and coaches. I don't care how old you are. You would agree, you never stop using mentors and coaches, ever. Whether it be through podcasts like this, whether it be through reading, whether it be through courses, there's always more to learn and a better way to learn it.
And that's what you said too, and that's what I advise, young lady, for you to do, and that is to get a mentor that you trust and that you want to be like. And that's what I did.
And
I had so many great mentors.
It could be a
in this
virtual
industry.
mentor. It could be a virtual coach.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be somebody who comes in office. There's so many. This is virtual coaching right here. So there's so many opportunities to do that. And then we'll apply it. And then having a team that knows what it's all about and having them help you. Because your team has to validate you.
And it's funny because I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm across the street from Guadalupe Indian Reservation. I'm not in Scottsdale. I'm not in Paradise Valley. I'm not in Sin City. 1/4 of my 5-mile radius pretty much has a dirt floor, speaks Spanish. They were, probably half of them are undocumented, all this stuff like that. And I think it's so funny because they buy this $800 iPhone in cash. they buy $30,000 purple lowriders in cash. And I don't play the poor game, and I just say, this is what you need, and they pay in cash. And so many of the millennials, they think that they're all victims, and if the Medicaid and the Medicare doesn't pay, and that they, like you said, they feel they're apologizing that you have 7 cavities when you drink Mountain Dew all day, when you're hammering nails and putting on roofs and working at the IHOP. I mean, it's crazy. And the reason I call bullshit on corporate is because I've seen this rodeo twice. When I got out of school, Orthodontic Centers of America was on the New York Stock Exchange with $1 billion market cap. There were a dozen on NASDAQ, and I watched every one of them fall from grace. Then they disappeared. Now they're back. And right now, their problem is, because I know these guys, I know all these guys, they can't keep their average dentist for a year. How do I build a relationship with you when every time I come in I go, well, where's Dr. Ho? Oh, she's gone. What do you mean she's gone? This is a third dentist you've given me. And I think people are so funny because I like a corporate dentist's office open in a small town like Wichita, and all the dentists just like literally crap their pants. It's like, really? They come into my office with a $6,000 treatment plan and say every time I go in it's a different doctor. I would compete against that all day long. I don't want to compete against you. I don't want to compete against some dentist that's been doing it 20, 30 years, that's got assistants been with him 10, 20 years, family values and trust. And, I mean, if these corporates can't keep their dentist a year, and they know it, they know that's their deal, they're not going to be publicly traded. There's not one publicly traded DSO today. They employ 12% of the dentists. They're doing 19% of the dentistry. They're linear thinking, like, well, if I went from 0 to 12, which 12 in dentistry, but 19% dentistry. So they're saying we went from 0 to 20, give us 10 more years, we go from 20 to 40. That's linear thinking. I remember when the stock market in 2000 went from 1,800 to 5,600, and the next day it decided to go the other way. And when you've lived 54 years, everything's a pendulum.
Yeah.
And if these guys don't learn to keep their dentist, they ain't going to keep their patients. How can you keep your patients for life if you can't keep your dentist for life? So here's what I want to ask you this. There's a question, all this bullshit somewhere. Here's the question. When you have a Fortune 500 company like Chase or American Airlines, they've had everyone's come to Walmart and Costco, and they've had everybody in their office once. They like Care Credit. Care Credit has 95% of all the dentists. So they don't want any new patients. They don't invest in advertising. They invest in loyalty.
Exactly, in sustaining.
And the dentists are still, all they want to talk about is, well, should I do Facebook ads, or should I do direct mail, or should I put, it's always a new patient. It's like, well, why don't you focus on loyalty programs? I mean, the Fortune 500 gave up on new customers 10 years ago. They only talk about loyalty. The corporates can't keep their dentist. How can she keep, I know for a fact, if she could keep just her average new patient for 5 years, she has $1 million practice.
Exactly.
So how do you keep a burn and churn I keep my average customer 5 years? How do you switch from advertising to loyalty?
You tell them, girl.
Well, I think it starts with the way you bring them into the practice, and it's got to be different. It's got to be different than the corporate environment. And I think the reason that you were talking about we usually typically do one crown and they go. And if I want to keep a patient in for life, I have to start with, this is why I do what I do, and this is why I'm here for you. So I think the whole initial encounter with the patient has to be totally different. And I think patients buy your why, not your what. They don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it and why you're there for them. So I think that there's that let's establish relationship. I remember I just ran into a client that I had 35 years ago where he's still practicing dentistry, and I gave him a catchphrase that he still uses today. When he talks to patients, he looks in the eye and he says, I want to make a difference in your life for being a part of my practice. He looks them straight in the eye, and that's the first thing he says, and he touches them and he says, I want to make a difference in your life by being a part of my practice. And how could you turn away from that? Why would you walk away and go someplace else for what will my insurance pay? For somebody to look you in the eye with sincerity and authenticity and tell you that. So you got to be authentic. You have to be genuine. You have to love what you do, and you have to let your patients see that. I think I did a sort of an analysis about if a dentist kept a patient and added in recare, and a lot of part of it is about the recare examination as well. That's the other thing. You know, if I'm coming in and it's the dine and dash flashing blue light special recare exam, it's like, oh yeah, it's Howard. He doesn't need anything, and we'll clean his teeth. And he's out here in 30 minutes, and bam, 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 and we don't continue to perpetuate the relationship with you. You're just a recall. You're just a recare, and I don't do anything to sustain the relationship during the recare visit. Then you're going to say I don't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. And
well, I will tell you. Let me bring in it. We as dentists, our passion is the dentistry. We love our craft. That's what I want to do. The business, frankly, of dentistry is kind of gets in my way. I know so many dentists feel the same way about it. But you can't provide a service without having a successful business. So that's why the business is so important, and that's why I listen to this lady. But my passion is, and you have to be passionate about it. You do. You have to be passionate, and most dentists I know are passionate about doing dentistry. That's what I want to do. And as long as you keep your passion focused and you continue to build what you know how to do, you're going to be successful.
Well, your passion will drive you. It goes back to that. It's like the why do I do it? Why am I doing it? That's what the patient wants to hear. That's what patients are going to go tell their friends about. They're not going to go and say, hey, look at my bleeding. Here's my bleeding report card. Here are my bleeding points. They're going to say, oh my gosh, you cannot believe how these people make me feel while I'm in their presence. And why would I go anyplace else? Because I'm nurtured there. So that's what they have to learn is, how do I nurture my patient? How do I do it from the moment the patient calls on the telephone to bring them into the office and keeping them into recare? And the recall.
I want to ask you a question, but I hope you don't take it as a sexist question, but it sounds like a sexist question, but I don't mean it to be. A lot of these girls that are under 30, she worked for old man Nash for 5 years. Nash worked the staff, do this, do that, and they all did whatever he said. So then she gives him $750,000, buys his practice, he's gone. She says the same damn thing, and they're like, you know I didn't sleep last night, you know I just had a baby, or, you know, she tells me that female staff do whatever the old man gorilla said, but now that she's the female, it's different. Is that something in between her ears, or is that a real human Homo sapien effect?
I think part of it is true. I think that there has to be with my female clients, I tell them, listen, you have got to separate yourself from being their friend. You are their employer. You can love them, you can nurture them, but there is not a gender delineation now. You have got to delineate it in a different way, and you've got to be a leader, and you've got.
That's funny I say it, because when I'm sitting around my 50-year-old buddies at the bar watching the ball game, and some young 30-year-old dentist is whining everything. With the minute she leaves, we say, yeah, well, she goes to happy hour, gets drunk with them, holds her hair while they throw up, and then the next morning she's sergeant general.
Yeah,
it's like we don't ever do that. I mean, I've had my dental assistant 30 years. I've never gone to the bar and got drunk with her.
Yeah,
and I mean, I think they're friends, not their boss. And I tell my staff. I always tell my staff, I said, any woman that's worked for me for 5 years, I actually end up loving like my 5 sisters. I actually love them after 5 years. But you have to remember, I'm still not your friend, because I will always reserve the right to fire your ass. And your best friend's not going to fire you. So I'm not your best friend, I'm your boss.
And you know, it's interesting because in our practice, and we still practice full time, and I still work with Ross in the practice as well as consult and teach and speak. We have good cop, bad cop. Guess who the bad cop is? I am. He's the benevolent dad, and I'm the mom who says, no, you're not doing that.
Okay, now I don't want this to sound sexist either, please. But my experience tells me that women manage women better than men.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With the exception of gay men. I've seen a lot of gay man office managers actually do it better than women. Yeah, I think gay men are more intuitive to women than.
They're also candid. I think they're very candid, and they're well spoken, and they're and thoughtful.
Yeah. So you may have actually a benefit.
Yeah.
If you're a female dentist.
I have a hard time saying this, but I'm going to say the god awful truth. The most successful $1 million, $2 million women practices I know, she'll have 4 assistants, 2 or 3 will be guys. She'll have a gay man office man. I mean, half of her employees are men. And I'll say to her, you have more male employees than any male dentist I know. She goes, I know. She goes, I just think it works better for women. I mean, I've heard
It works
that
better for her.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Works
That's
better
fair.
for her.
Works better for her.
But
Yeah.
I think my experience has been that, I can't be their friend. I mean, I love our team. He loves our team. We go to dental meetings with them. We take them on trips. But we don't get drunk with them, and we don't go to their homes, and we don't have them over for barbecue. But they know we love them. We're there for them. And I think the female dentist, I think they're stronger. I think this may sound really sexist, but most female dentists, I think, don't put up with the tears and the and the oh poor me kind of syndrome. You know, if one of our team members cries to Ross, he's becomes a puddle. He becomes a puddle, and I just say wipe. Yeah,
You are a good man.
yeah, and I just
are.
say wipe your tears and put your cell phone away and get on with it.
So Ross, I want to address how I feel the industry is going exactly the wrong way. In the fact that in 1900, healthcare was 1% of the GDP. We had no specialties. At the end of the century, healthcare was 14% of the GDP. The MDs had 58 specialties. The dentists had 9. Now it's 2017. Healthcare is 17% of the economy. It just passed $3 trillion. And these dentists want to go back to 1900, where one guy does everything, no specialties. I'm gonna do endo. I'm gonna do Invisalign. I'm gonna do sleep apnea. I'm gonna do implants. I'm gonna bone graft. So I'm like, when they say I want to learn implants, my first question is, that's awesome. What are you going to give up? They're like, I ain't giving up nothing, man. I'm going to master everything. I'm going to say, do you think healthcare was... So my question to you is, do you think healthcare was better in 1900 or 2000? And would you let a guy do a bypass on you who also did your root canal and fixed your broken leg? Can she master every clinical specialty?
No. I can answer that. No, I'm a classical referring dentist. I've got a team that I work on, a dream team. I heard Larry Rosenthal yesterday talk about his dream team in New York. I got one too at Lake Norman, North Carolina, and I couldn't work without these people.
And he's talking about
Because-
the endodontist, the periodontist, the prosthodontist, the oral surgeon,
Yeah,
And who's the most important one of them all?
the general dentist.
No, the pediatric dentist. That's the only one I could never do.
Me too.
Oh, my God.
Because I don't see kids.
I'd turn in my license if I had to do a 3-year-old pulpotomy.
But anyway, I think it's important to have a really good relationship with your peers. Nobody does everything good. You can't. You can't do it all good. You can do it acceptable work. But I want the best for my patients. I do some really good things, and when I have something I want to do, I want to be the dentist doing it. But if I need help, I go after it.
Okay, but what specifically are you doing? I mean, you've had $1 million practice for decades. Do you place implants? Do you do molar? What do you do? And what specifically do you do?
My passion is aesthetic dentistry. I have a general practice, like everybody else out there, just about. I see general patients, but I get to do a lot of aesthetic work, and my passion is elective aesthetic work. Of course, that has to be done in an environment of dental health. So we've got to get the patient dental health first if they're not there. But my passion is making people feel better and function better. I mean, that comes without saying.
And be healthier.
And be healthier. That all goes without saying. But to make them happier and more confident, that's where I'm at. So I do restorative and aesthetic dentistry.
And full mouth rehabs.
And I do full mouth rehabs, but I like to use my specialists. I
And
refer
when
to
you
endo,
say
perio, ortho, I don't place my own implants. I mean, if you can, great.
you don't do your own endo.
No.
Don't do any endo.
Okay.
I
Also,
actually restore lots of.
And he doesn't do
implants.
sleep.
Also, is there any demographics on an average full mouth rehab? I mean, is it always an 80-year-old man? Is it a girl more than boy more than girl, older? Is there anything?
Yeah, I think there is demographic.
Who are these people?
50 and older.
50 and older.
Yeah, because we all wear
Boy
teeth out.
or girl?
More women than men. But
I'd say 40
close to 50-50.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that the women who get the most cosmetic surgery By the way, everybody thinks I've had a bunch of cosmetic work done. This is all natural.
He looked like that when I met him.
This is all natural.
Yeah,
I just hate
yeah.
that. But a lot of people say the number one buy. I mean, if I talk to guys in Phoenix who do all the tummy tucks, boobs, face, everything, they say it's always the middle-aged divorced woman who's going to get all fixed up to go back on the market.
Oh.
They say that is their prime customer.
Well, I get some of that, but there's also.
In fact, that's what you should ask on your health history. Have you recently been divorced?
No.
Are you in mentally
You know what else?
fixer-up
You know what
mode?
else we get a lot of? You get also a lot of kids, high school, getting ready to go to college, where the parents are saying, "I want to help my child have a better life and have a better start at a career. I want to fix my child's teeth before they go off to college and go off to have a career, because I think they'll do better if they feel better about themselves and have a better smile." So we get a lot of.
We have that too, absolutely. But I have to say, men wear their teeth more than women. Women want to look better than men.
Because women make
but
men grit their teeth.
Yeah, but that's changing. A lot of 50-year-olds and up have their teeth today, and they're living longer, and that is a fantastic market because, first of all, by the time someone gets to be 50, they're usually more successful than they were at 25, and they can afford to help themselves and help you by becoming your patient. So I think that demographic is mine. And
Okay.
rehabilitation.
I know what she's thinking. She's thinking when you're doing a lab for if you want a tooth colored crown on a first molar, what would your go-to first molar crown be? And would it be different on a first molar than on a central incisor?
Now we're talking about crowns, not onlays and things
Crowns.
Like that. Crowns.
What's your go-to crown on a molar, and what's your go-to crown on an aesthetic
first
incisor?
molar, because of the aesthetic value, is usually going to be Emax. Second molar, I'm going to zirconia. Now I'm moving up on zirconia to the anterior too, because they're looking really good nowadays. They're getting more aesthetic and less opaque, but it's a different animal. A zirconium and Emax or any bonded ceramic like that is a different animal. You prep differently, you cement differently, etc. And I like the beauty of the high-strength pressed or milled ceramics molar forward. First molar forward.
By the way, there's a communication about labs to the patient. When you tell the patient, doctor's very particular about the lab he chooses. He's going to choose the lab. He's going to choose the material and the laboratory that's going to give you the results you're looking for. So that's one of the reasons that makes us different. That's one of our differentials is that his choice of material and his choice of laboratories.
I don't use just one lab.
Yeah, he chooses the dental artist that's going to be right for
that
the results you're
that
looking
particular
for.
patient. Yeah.
And what's your go-to composite? Direct composite.
I don't have a go-to. To be honest with you, I've got some of my favorites. Empress Direct, beautiful composite.
By Ivoclar?
Ivoclar, yeah, I use that a lot. But there are a lot of others. DMP, for instance, a material, a company out of Greece, has
DMP out of Greece.
DMP. They have a product called Nano Bright Ceram. Beautiful. They don't have dentin enamel incisal shades, but it's got a beautiful chameleon look. It has a beautiful balance between opacity and translucency. That's another one. But those are just two. There are some. It really is not the composite, Howard. It's the hands doing the composite that makes the difference. I don't know a bad one on the market, and some are maybe better than what I'm using, and I don't even know about it because there's so many of them out there. But I don't know a single manufacturer that's trying to make a bad product. They're all making good products today. Certainly, I have my favorites.
What would you cement that crown with? What would you cement an Emax with, and what would you cement a zirconium with?
Okay, an Emax crown can be bonded. When we say Emax, we're talking lithium disilicate, which is the strongest ceramic until we got to zirconia oxide. But I use bonded dual cure luting agents with a bonding agent. Now, don't get me wrong. There are also some self-adhesive cements that I use there too. So there's no right material there, but I'm going to adhesively bond those. Zirconia, it can be adhesively bonded, but not nearly to the extent, and you still need resistance and retention form like conventional PFMs and gold, and so those can be cemented with almost anything. but you've got to have the right form for it. So if I'm counting on adhesive dentistry, I'm going to Emax. If I'm counting on dentistry that is retained from resistance and retention form, that's what zirconium is.
A lot of them get stressed when they hear a lot of people talking about that a lot of reasons these bonding and directs and cements and luteins don't work because the tooth wasn't clean. Your monkey eye, even with loupes, didn't see the saliva, the blood, the astringent, the chemical. How do you clean before you bond?
You know, you're absolutely right. The wonderful thing about, and you guys don't even remember this or even know it, but the wonderful thing about amalgam is you could almost throw it in and it worked.
You could burnish the blood out the top,
You
and
could.
they still lasted 30 years.
You could. And cemented restorations, as long as you had retention resistance form and got the tooth fairly dry, it worked. Adhesive dentistry has to be done extremely well every time. If you don't, it's no good at all. Done well, it can compete with anything. So adhesive dentistry is extremely important to do it right. So you can't have saliva. You can't have astringent agents. It has to be. And I use a chlorhexidine cleaning agent. One of them is by Taub, and it's called Go CHS or so. Well, anyway. And
So
it's
you
in a
put
gel
that on a
form.
Profi cup or
No, I take it with a brush, and after I remove the temporary, let's say, I'm going to certainly rinse and dry and clean, but I'll use a chlorhexidine rinse. Bisco's got one too, cavity cleanser. I make sure that it's cleaned and dry, and then you got to isolate. I mean, that saliva can't get on the tooth, so it's very technically demanding, but done well, they're phenomenal restorations.
And what percent of the time do you use rubber dam?
Not very much. On direct posteriors, I try to use rubber dam. Also, like the
What do you use?
what?
You say you don't use rubber dam very much.
Not anymore because I have the light,
Isolite.
the isolite that comes real close. Don't get me wrong, I do use rubber dams. I do, if I can. But there are some times I can efficiently use the isolite and do just as well.
Right.
Of course, I don't use a rubber dam on indirect restorations. I just don't. Even onlays, I can place those without a rubber dam.
Yeah, you know that isolite. Not only is it better than any assistant. I mean, you can't do that.
It
but
almost worked without one.
It floods the space with light. And then what I like about it is, and shout out to my dental assistant Jan, who yesterday celebrated her 29th anniversary. I've had my same dental assistant for 30 years. But what I like about it is, if she's standing there retracting and suctioning, for me it's not as good as the isolite retracting and suctioning and flooding the area with light. But then Jan's doing her notes, doing other stuff instead of just standing there retracting and suctioning.
It's a real aid to efficiency, that's for
What-
sure.
what
And
percent
think
of the
about it
time-
in dental school. We didn't have dental assistants in dental school. We had to retract and suction, do everything ourselves. And they got the isolite.
We had a 1 week rotation with a dental assistant in our 4 years of dental school. And she was the scariest person in the entire school.
Bless her heart.
Yeah,
As we
and,
say in the South.
Yeah, and it was like a bad week because you had this crazy old lady in your room, and you're just wanting the week to
Her
go
name was
by.
typically Betty.
Yeah. So switch back because you guys are an amazing team, an amazing institute. And by the way, if you go to Dentaltown, which has 5 million posts, and this little search bar cost me $50,000 from Google, and it's an appliance. So you can't upgrade the software; it's a mechanical thing. So every time I want to upgrade my search deal, I have to buy a new $50,000 machine. So if you come to Dentaltown and you go look at all the servers, they're all black, except the yellow one with Google on it is a Google deal. But if you search, and we don't have Wi-Fi down here, but in this hotel, if you search Nash, you can read threads. I mean, there's 100 threads. It'll pull up every thread of your name in there. But if you search practice management software like Dentrix, every thread is a bitching, moaning session. You search EagleSoft, every thread is a bitching, moaning, complaint session. But if you search Open Dental, all their fans are raving fans. And all the threads that mention you are raving fans.
Oh, thank you.
You're not Dentrix. You're the Open Dental of restorative dentistry. I mean,
That's
you,
nice
you all
to
have raving fans, and I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to your wife.
I know she does.
But yeah. So you got a lot of raving fans. So I got two people here. I got clinical and practice management. If I ask any millennial dentist, what is your biggest problem? What keeps you up at night? It's not which bonding agent. It's always their staff.
People.
It's people.
People.
And so how does a 30-year-old woman doctor, what's the fastest way to be a leader and to lead, that team? I mean, they're looking at 5, 6, 7 employees every day.
It's going to sound a bit esoteric, but I think one of the first things, if I were going to hire you, and I'm the woman dentist, one of the things I would want you to know is what my culture is, what my philosophies are, what my values are. So I might want to say, Howard, here's a couple of things you need to know about me. In fact, here's what we say to our team. If you're going to work for us, these are three things you need to know if you're going to work here. Number one, we hire grown-ups. We don't have time to babysit. We don't want to babysit. So we hire grown-ups. We don't expect typical drama, childlike behavior. We just don't. It doesn't work here. Number two, keep your knees bent, because we're all about change. There'll be change in materials, there'll be change in technique, there'll be change in protocols to continue to make it better. So keep your knees bent. And number three, we truly believe you get what you give. You give to us, we'll give back to you, and it works both ways. So these are the three things you need to know. So I think laying out expectations, laying out, here's my culture. I also think not frequent ad nauseum frequent, but sitting down one-on-one with a team member and say, tell me what's working for you. Tell me what's working well for you working here. And then I'm going to tell you what I think is working well. And then tell me where you need my help. What can I do for you? So I think ongoing communication, it can be very informal, doesn't have to be planned performance reviews. It can be very informal. But I think having that conversation, saying, laying out your expectations, making them very clear.
I found one of the most interesting threads on Dentaltown is, do you have a morning huddle or not? It was 50-50.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
And there were guys that are saying, dude, we do $2 million a year. We don't have a morning huddle.
We don't have a morning huddle.
So
we do have a great bonus plan. I mean, our team makes up like $1,000. Their last bonus plan they got was like $1,900 net. Our bonus plan is amazing. They pay more attention to the numbers than we do. They tell us where we are. They're looking at that schedule saying, okay, what can we do to make our numbers? And we do a 3-month floating
How do
average.
they learn that bonus plan?
They can email me. I mean, it's simple. I mean,
It sounds like an awesome article for Dentaltown magazine.
You got it. Okay. All right, I'll write it.
And Tom Jacoby's the editor. He's walking around here.
Absolutely write it.
Yeah. You know who Tom is?
No, but you can introduce me.
Okay.
He is. I have to tell you. Here's
Well,
Weave.
come here.
We absolutely. You got to. I love Weave. We love Weave.
And do you
Thank
know?
you.
And do you know why
Yeah.
they name
We're
her
on-
Weave? Because she's wearing a weave. That's
Exactly.
That's
Are you wearing a weave?
Yeah,
there
I'm
you
gonna pull off
go.
right now.
This is, I'll tell you, not only do you have great pancake mix, they don't, they just send you great pancake mix.
From
but
Utah, yes.
we love our system. I mean, I was showing people yesterday at another meeting, and I was just showing them the weave system. Oh my gosh.
The app is
is
so
incredible.
I have
What?
my schedule right here on my.
Hey,
iPhone.
docs, you really need to look at this weave system.
So
I'm
you're
telling
in Provo,
you.
Utah.
We are in Lehigh, Utah.
Well,
yes,
but that region of Utah has got
Silicon
like
Valley.
It's called Silicon
Valley.
Slopes.
Silicon Slopes of dentistry.
Exactly.
So you got weave, curve,
Banyan.
dentrix, banyan,
Yep.
Solution Reach,
solution
Yep.
reach,
Dental Intel.
Dental Intel's there. Yes.
dental intel.
Yeah.
So you tell the townies, what is weave besides your fake hair?
My fake hair, so you can get fake system that integrates with your practice management software. So it's a phone system that integrates with your practice management software. So when a patient calls in, you know exactly who's calling, and you can see
Okay, here's what's really cool. I'll tell
Yeah.
you. So their name pops up. Also, their family names pop up, and also if they have a balance, if they're overdue for treatment, if they're overdue for recall, and if you're a Dentrix user, there's a little box. You click on that, and it opens up their chart. You don't even have to leave the telephone
Okay,
system.
so here's
I'm pretty jacked about it, as you can tell.
Yes, we
here's
love
what
it. We love it.
we switch from clinical Ross
I know.
to business. Here's what I see as the number one problem in dentistry that corporate does twice as good. The typical dental office takes 3 to 4 new people to call to convert one into the chair. When they get a person in the chair, they have to get 3 people in the chair that have a cavity to get one to accept treatment. Of that one that does accept treatment, only 80% are scheduled for a new patient exam, recare, whatever. And then of those recare, whatever exams, only about 2/3 of those will show up. Of the one, so it's just a filter that starts at 100, and then what happens is next thing you know, you're a short, fat, old bald man. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Ross. And they got 5,000 charts, and only 1,000 are active.
Yeah.
So 4,000 just failed. So I want to pin your feet to the ground.
I want to tell you something about that 5,000 charts versus 1,000. I would much rather have a practice that has 1,000 active, viable patients than 5,000 dead charts.
Right. So I want to start at the very beginning. Start with the funnel. So 4 people have to call before your untrained receptionist. The dentist got 8 years of college. The hygienist got 4 years of college. My Jan went to a year of dental assisting school. So we hired Simone off the street.
Right.
And 4 people got a caller to get one in the chair. How would Weave help that?
Well, Weave helps you maintain your relationship with your patients. So every time they call in, so say your office manager doesn't have a lot of experience, doesn't know how to use a computer that well, phone system. When a patient calls in, it gives them all, the information right there when they call in, so they don't have to do any digging around. It records all the phone calls.
It records all the phone calls.
And it also, if you miss a call, like if you're not there, if you're at lunch or anything, it'll record the calls. It'll record that you missed these calls. So, for example, there was a call that I missed. I was able to go back to that phone number and say, this is Debra from Cosmetic Dentistry of the Carolinas, Dr. Nash's office. I see that you called. So you don't miss the call that you were when you were
And then
there.
while you're back there doing a molar endo, staring off into the abyss, you don't know how Simone, Shawanda, and Sharonda are answering the phone. We records them.
That. Yeah,
so then you can go through that. And even with very experienced staff, like I have this girl that just celebrated her 15th anniversary yesterday, and I won't say her name because I don't want to get back to Dawn. But in one of the recorded calls, someone had asked, "Do you do Invisalign?" And she said no, because we had switched to another brand, Clear Choice. Or Clear
so
Connect.
she didn't.
So
she didn't say.
She missed that. She just heard we don't do Invisalign. But not. Can you call a Fortune 500 company and not be recorded? If you call any major company, what does it say?
Typically
this
say,
call
well,
may be recorded
for quality purposes.
so we can treat our receptionist like United and beat her until she answers the phone right.
There are 17 states that require that. So not all, 17 states require that recording. This call may be recorded and the rest don't.
Does Arizona?
I don't know them all off the top
You should
of
know
my
that because
head.
you're in
I
Utah.
should know them all
And
off the
Phoenix
top of my
is
head.
south.
But she's had a
Yes.
weave, so her hair's she's a little bit
But
fuddled.
I live in California, so
Do you live in California?
I do live in
Whereabouts?
California, outside San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this phone system. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
And
thank
here's
you
the other
for
thing.
it.
Here's
So
the other thing.
how much is it?
It's $349 a month to month, no contract. You get all the phones included. So a lot of people pay. I hear
All the
5,000.
phones included.
Yeah.
We got brand new phones.
Yep, brand new.
You
VoIP
mean you
phones.
give them phones?
Yeah.
You give them phones.
You give them and what kind of phone is it?
It's a VoIP phone, so voice over IP, so an internet-based phone. They're very, very. Do you like them?
I love
They're
them.
Great phones. Yeah.
We had to learn
Yes.
that park means whole. We had to learn a few things.
Okay, so then people are the first thing they're gonna say is, well, so now you have an internet phone.
So
Voice
what
over
happens
internet
if,
protocol.
so what happens
So
if the
how
internet goes
often?
down?
How long have you had it?
Gosh, we've had it about 4 months now, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4
About
months,
four
and in
months.
4 months, what percent of the time do your phones go down because the internet goes down?
We've never had our phones go down yet
I
in
know.
4 months.
A
Not
lot of
once.
people always worry about the internet
Oh,
go down. I'm always
please.
like, dude, when was the last time your internet
And you know,
went down?
this is interesting
Well-
because we were with another provider. Fortunately, our contract, we had waited for our contract to lapse. We turned that back in, and we're probably saving, I mean, it sounds like pennies, but we're saving like $400 or $500 a month.
Who was your other contract?
Windstream. And it was
For
always
phone?
going down.
Yeah,
It was
for phone.
always going down for phone. Always going down.
How many customers do you have?
So we have 3,000 customers now.
And how many of them complain about the internet going down?
We do get complaints, but the internet will go down for a variety of reasons. It's very rare, and our system, it could be a storm, it could be any number of things. Our system is very stable. There, in the past we had some issues. We moved to a brand new system, a brand new phone system, so it's very stable. We haven't had any outages.
Here's the value chain. The value chain, they're all talking about your customers, your existing customers. The number one value chain of Weave is recording the phone calls
Right.
and ramping up your receptionist. Because if you can here's what's so backward. They spend all this money on direct mail and
please.
Groupons
Yeah,
and all this shit.
Yeah.
When we sell the invisible. So when the woman comes in and she doesn't know you from Adam, she buys $1. When she's referred in with trust, she buys 3. So your patient goes home, tells her sister calls your office, and your receptionist can't convert her to the deal. And if you can take the average dental office from multiple data sources is 3.5 strangers calling your office to get one seated. Most people will say it's 4. Like Scheduling Institute Atlanta says it's 4. But if you can just get that from 1 out of 4 to 1 out of 2, your practice just went from $750,000 taking home $145 to $1.5 million practice taking home $350, which is your entire student loan debt. Which is what I tell everybody graduating from student loan. They always say, "I graduated from dental school $350,000 on a student loan." I always tell them, "Dude, there will be a year where you will make that in 1 year." And if you think $350,000 is a lot of money, wait till you get your first divorce. That will be over $1 million. Yeah.
$1 million too.
And, so I think the most important thing about Weave, and it's $345 a month,
$349, yeah.
$349 a month,
No contract.
is the recording of the phone calls.
But you know the other thing too about Weave
That's my opinion.
is their amount of training and support. I mean, if we have a glitch, we had to call in. There's always somebody there, and actually they'll call you and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And we've got another training set up. And because he says, "Listen, we took our training in January. We didn't get our phones till March because of Windstream, and can we do the retraining again?" There's always somebody calling. I mean, they probably have me on the.
But
"Oh
they're
my
from
gosh, here's
Utah,
Deborah
so they're
again."
probably drinking too, aren't
No,
they?
they're probably
Oh my
drinking.
gosh.
Are they
yeah.
drinking?
I go there once a month. and
There's
they're all
one
drunk
guy
all
there
the
that makes a
time.
great espresso in their facility. One guy.
One guy.
One guy makes it. And he's from
I want
California.
to ask you this. I want to ask you this.
Exactly.
A lot of them are working at right now. You're talking to a lot of people that work at Aspen, Heartland, Pacific, and they're going to start their own. And they want to know what practice management software. Now, first of all, you could have a big bias because you're in the same area as Dentrix. But
No bias.
And Curve, you're
and
with Curve, which is online.
We work with
But
about 90% of the practice management softwares out there. Smaller ones, the kind of, have a very small amount of people on the system, we're not currently using or
But
working with.
if
for the
she's
majority,
trying to work,
yeah.
she's saying, okay, you work with 90 systems?
About 90% of the
90%
systems
of the
out
systems.
there. Yes.
What would be your top choice for practice
for
management
practice
software?
management? I can't tell you that.
Because you're afraid to piss off a partner?
No, I actually get asked that question all the time, and I'll tell you the two that I hear are the best. Everybody says they have problems with their practice management system, but the two I always hear that are the best are Dentrix and EagleSoft.
I would agree. And
Oh my God, that's the two I always hear are the worst.
Really?
Really?
Oh no,
Absolutely.
The majority of our customers are on those two.
See, okay, I'm sorry.
And I'm not.
Are you drinking right now?
No, I did drink coffee.
I would say Dentrix and EagleSoft and CareStream are the three.
Yeah.
God,
I mean, they complain about them, but
Now I'm
those
Irish
are
Catholic, so my friends are truly drinking.
Well,
But I hear the number one they love is Open Dental.
For cloud people,
And-
we're going to
and-
for
and
cloud
here-
people,
Well, it's
here's-
also the
cloud-based.
cheapest.
Here-
It's
here's-
the cheapest.
but here's
it's the
where-
cheapest, best one.
Here's where I trust my
Where's the
homies
best
too
one
much.
that's cheapest?
My homies are all dentists on Dentaltown, and there's and what's funny about Dentaltown is there's 275,000 dentists on Dentaltown, and then let's see if I get internet connection.
While you're looking for your internet connection, the other article I want to write for you is how to convert the new patient when they call.
But look at this. I got 275,000 dentists
Ignore
on
that.
Dentaltown. No, but I got.
I will write it.
But how many do I got on my Facebook page?
279,000.
279,000.
It's the same. It's the same dentist on Dentaltown. Follow me on Facebook, so I feel like I'm connected to my homies. And if I do a search for Dentrix, it'll pull up 1,000 threads, and they're all bitching. I pull up EagleSoft, all bitching. Soft Dent, it's all like, you got to
Why
be
do
kidding
people
me.
do so much bitching
But
on
when
Dentaltown?
when I
There's
pull up
more.
Open Dental, it's all raving fans. I was telling Ross earlier, it's the same thing about Ross Nash. You pull up any of those major institutes, and there's all kinds of, but you pull up Ross Nash, they all love him. And you pull up Open Dental out of
So
Oregon.
who's writing those reviews? Are they his employees?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, our employees, we're the South. Our employees don't know how
Because,
to write.
because they're dentists with their avatar, I mean, I know these guys.
Yeah, I know
I've been on Dentaltown since 1998, probably 4 hours a day since 1998. That's 19 years. I mean, Open Dental has the most raving fans.
So, but
Interesting.
Open Dental, you have to look at cloud-based versus non-cloud-based.
Right.
The majority of non-cloud-based users are on Dentrix and EagleSoft. You're always going to get people bitching about their software. We get it. Solution Reach. Demand
Okay,
Report,
so
everybody gets
I'm
it.
gonna hold your feet. We went over an hour. So I think the best thing about I agree with you. I think Weave is amazing.
I love it.
And I'm gonna get a Weave someday.
Someday.
And
You look good
but
this way,
Ross
though.
first.
I
He's the trailblazer.
I would get it immediately.
Yeah. So you get immediately.
He's talking
I
about
think
hair.
I think the best feature of it is to be able to record the phone calls. And I believe if you're not, I believe this.
I also love the
When
app.
the data is clear, when you have a 7-Eleven or a Circle K and you put a camera over the cash register, the stealing drops to zero. When you take it away, they're stealing cash. A lot of people say that they sell something for 99 cents because that'll sell easier than $1. That's completely wrong. The reason things are at 99 cents is because back in the cash register day, it was a checks and balance on theft. So he'd break open a roll of pennies in the morning, 2 rolls, 100. So everything was $1. You had to give back a penny. So he could count the pennies and say, okay, you had 14 transactions. That was part of their internal control over theft and embezzlement before computers. It's not some psychological thing that you're more willing to buy something at $39.99 than $4,000. It was internal control. Same thing with the receptionist. The minute you start recording phone call, I mean, it used to be like this. Hello. And the minute you start recording phone calls, it's like they're on stage.
And they better be okay
Thank
with
you
it.
for calling Today's Dental. How may I help you?
Yeah.
And then they know that the office manager on one Saturday a month for 4 hours is going to come in with these taped phone calls and show you 2 amazing phone calls, one like not so good and one like what the hell? And you don't even know how many what the hell. And then here's the other thing that people who get Weave find out. That a lot of practice management consultants will go into an office and find out, okay, and they'll test them for 1 week. And they'll say, okay, you know what percent of your incoming calls went to voicemail? And the dentist will say, I don't know, there's 2 girls up there, none. They're like half.
Half.
Do you know how many of the incoming phone calls that went to voicemail that someone even frickin' listened to?
And we do have
Only
a report.
half?
We have a report
I
in our
know.
system.
So he's back, and then I say, what do you think about your receptionist? Oh, she's adorable. Yeah, because she's nice. She brings him a Starbucks. She always tells him he's wonderful. But
how do you measure? How do you measure?
If you don't measure it,
Exactly.
you can't management. With Weave, you can management.
Yeah.
Let me just
Yeah.
say, people also they love that because they can also use it for training purposes, and they also can, if a patient says, they said something, you can go back and refer back to it, the conversation that you had with the patient if you need to. So people love that. I do want to say something about the internet going down. You guys love the app. We just hit 20,000
the
users
app?
on the app. The app basically, for your cell
It's on
phone,
your
it has
phone.
everything
Good
that's
job.
on your
Here's
computer, on your phone. If your internet does happen to go down for whatever reason, you've got an app on your phone that you can pull up Weave on your cell phone, and you can contact your patients. You can see your schedule right on your cell phone.
There's his weed.
There you go.
Right there on
Yep.
his phone.
And how many apps do you have, Ross?
It's one.
You just have one?
What do you
Weave.
mean?
How many apps do you have on your phone?
Oh, he has
Oh,
a number
I've
of
got a
them.
bunch
You
of
know,
them.
He's got.
You have so far 12 open windows draining your battery. You need to learn how to close. There needs to be an app that closes
Close
all
all
your
the
windows.
windows. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
usually
so-
he has an open
yeah.
fly.
So,
this is good.
so give them your 3 best reasons why they spy weed. My reason was to record the phone calls.
The
use
recorded
staff
phone
training.
calls is great. The app is awesome.
And why is the app awesome?
Because Ross can be here and he can see his entire schedule on his cell phone. He can reach out to his patients from
Patients
his
can
cell
text
phone.
you.
What software are you
Patient-
hooked into?
We're Dentrix.
Dentrix.
We're Dentrix. And we've never had a problem with Dentrix. I love Dentrix. It's not, I mean,
And you're pro
there's-
Dentrix just because
yeah.
you're headquartered out of Lee, Utah.
No,
Is it
I
Lee or Leah? Utah?
Lehigh.
Lehigh.
Utah.
I know. I've been in the dental industry for about 10 years now. So
Yeah.
I've talked to many people on different systems. So I have
Well, I
no,
think
I have
the
no
dumbest
bias.
thing Dentrix ever did, I kid you not, they invited me to their user conference in Utah and put me up in a resort. And I'm just like, are they at? They must have never heard me lecture. They've never read one of my columns. They probably didn't know who the frick I was. And oh my God, I just sat there and the guy opened up with
I
my
think I
number.
was there.
Were you there?
I think I
he
was
opens
there.
up what every practitioner does, that 80% of all the software will never be used ever. They can go into the report generator in any office, ACES never used. That's the problem. When you check in a car at Hertz Rent-A-Car or check in a Hilton, the receptionist always crushes it because there's only 9 things she does and she has to do each one. What dentistry does in Dentrix and EagleSoft, which is they put 40,000 features on there. So the dental receptionist who didn't go to 4 years of hygiene school, 8 years of, she's just overblown mesmerized, and there's no way to X out and close all that shit down. And they need to go in there and get with a consultant like you. Like Dentrix should be calling you and saying, we're going to have the Debra Engelhardt-Nash program, or we can have the other consultant program, or the Sandy Purdue program. And then you like, here's the 6 things you do
Here's
when
your
someone
analytics.
calls.
Here's
and
your
here's the
analytics.
6 things you do when you check out a recall. Here's the 4 ways to check out a crown. Get rid of the 80% they don't use. And then the number one problem why I hate Dentrix and EagleSoft more than anything in the world, because I have flown on my own dime to Effingham, where EagleSoft is headed. You know where Effingham is?
Down
In the middle of
nowhere.
effing nowhere.
Yeah.
And told this guy that we're not hooked up to SoftDent. I mean, Quicken Online. So here, when you go into business, they say, okay, I make this cup of coffee for 80 cents and I sell it for $1. I sell 1,000 a day. They know their product. Here's dentistry. I have no idea what an hour appointment to do an MOD composite costs because I don't have my Quicken tied into my Dentrix. So it's not doing payroll. The staff's not clocking in and out. It's not, So if Quicken was married to Dentrix, all the data's on one. Then the receptionist scheduled an hour for an appointment, and she's selling it for 12 different PPO prices. So you're like, okay, well, you signed up for 12 PPO price, so you're doing an MOD composite anywhere from 80 to 220.
Yeah.
So if your overhead was, if your overhead is $80 then you're doing it for free. Do you really think your overhead is $80 for an hour in operatory? So they don't even know what they're doing for loss. So because Dentrix refuses to hook into an accounting system, their practice management, how do you manage without payables or receivables? You can't even generate a check with that damn thing. I tell people when their Shine rep comes in and says, you need to pay me for my supplies. No problem. Jump on Dentrix, cut yourself a check. And they say it doesn't do it. Say, exactly. We're never giving you another dime again until we can cut it. And then when you need payroll, you got to go out to Quicken. Well, you would think they were clocking in and clocking out on your damn practice man. To call them practice management software, it'd be like calling Stevie Wonder Galileo. It's just, Yeah, I mean, Dentrix is somewhere between you're either Stevie Wonder and blind or Ray Charles dead.
Is this
And
going to
to
be in
call
our blog,
this-
by the way?
What's that?
Is
Yeah,
all this
yeah.
going to be in our blog?
It's the podcast.
And this
The
podcast? Hell
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe we could cut this out a little bit.
No,
If
see?
you want me to, I will. But that's why we've had over 2 million downloads is because they know I'm. They might not agree
Everybody
with
has
me.
their own opinion,
Yeah,
right?
they might not agree with me, but what they like is I'll give you a deal that's been published in Psychology Today several times. They say, okay, why would anybody care what Willie Nelson thought? Well, when a guy comes out there and he admits he hasn't had a bath in 10 years, he's being arrested for not paying his taxes, and he admits he's stoned, why would he lie? But then when a politician walks out there in a suit and tie and he's all proper, they don't believe him. And people would rather listen to an authentic person that they might not agree with half of it, but they respect me because they believe that for me to respect them, I'm going to tell you what I really think, and I ain't going to sugarcoat nothing.
You know what?
And that's why we've
That's-
had
and
two,
that's- yeah.
that's why we've had 2 million
Good for you,
downloads,
my friend.
and that's why you sell more
And that's
dentistry
why he has raving fans.
than an
Is his-
apologizer.
Yeah, yeah.
Apologizing that you have
Yeah.
a cavity, and I'm sorry,
and
but
he's
you're going to need a
authentic
crown.
and people know it. Whether they be a student or a patient.
And I want to tell you that what I just said, Dentrix could fix in an hour because I have called SoftNet myself. They say, Howard, every company in retail from Hertz to everybody wants what you have, and we have an entire division to do that.
Right.
So if Dentrix and EagleSoft and SoftNet called up QuickBooks, do you think QuickBooks Online doesn't want to merge with 40,000 dental offices
I
that
would think
use
they
Dentrix?
would. I think they would.
They would kill to. But those guys are so deaf, dumb, and blind or ignorant or arrogant. I don't know what the problem is.
Don't know.
They're from Utah, so they're not drunk.
They are not
So
drunk.
tell them
No.
to make the phone call or have Weave do it. Because the one thing I think Weave could do more than anything is to make that leap. Say, okay, Dentrix ain't gonna do it. You're already integrated
Well,
with that.
we are.
So call
that's something we are
Saul-
working on. As
I
far
wasn't
as
going to say
going-
it, but I
Yes.
know you're working on some things.
Because I've told your
Yeah.
owner that I've ranted this to your owner. So
Brandon,
is,
you did a podcast
Is
with
he
him,
is
yeah.
he listening?
He's listening to you, and
Is
we
he?
are. That's something that we're working on. Deborah
Is he
knows.
single? Can I
know.
marry him? I've never been married. to
He's got
anybody
4
who
kids.
listens. So do I.
He's married. He's married, 4 kids.
So you think he's listening to me?
I think he's
See,
listening to
that's
you.
why I keep
People
saying,
listen to you.
I
fight
think-
the good fight.
I think you're going to find Weave is going to have an integration of multiple apps, so you only have to go one place for all of those things.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Well, all I
that's-
know
that's
this
not-
for that 25-year-old dentist to practice 40 years, she can't not know what the price of her bottled water is and then sell it for 12 different prices.
Right, exactly.
If she doesn't know that this cost her 80 cents,
Yeah.
and she's not dumb, if she knows it's 80 cents, she's not going to sign up for a PPO that sells it for 60 cents. These people learn calculus and physics and trig and the periodic table. My homies are smart. They're just blind because no one will show them the picture. And once they see the picture, and then the receptionist, she's scheduled for an hour. Oh, you lose $50. I'm going to move it down to 45 minutes. Now we just break even.
Exactly.
I'm going to move it down to 30 minutes because throw your own husband under a bridge. If you give Ross an hour for an MOD composite, how long will he take?
An hour.
And if you give him 30 minutes, how long will it take?
30 minutes.
Yeah. So we got to know how much time to give him. And sometimes I'll walk in there and Jan will say, you only got 25 minutes. And I'm like, damn, I was just going to numb up and then go call my buddy. Shit, now I got to stay in here and work. And so then you really want to call your buddy. So then you go even faster.
Yeah.
And then you do it in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a client who wanted to get out for a tea time, and he told his team, he said, if you guys get me, they were running behind, he says, if you guys help me get out on time, I'm going to give you each $100, $100 cash, $100 bill. And sure enough, he made his tea time. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So who's the owner of your company?
Brandon Rodman is our founder, along with his brother Jared Rodman, and then Clint Berry.
And how many of them did I podcast?
One, Brandon Rodman.
Okay. And you think that he might splice that thing into QuickBooks Online?
I'm not necessarily QuickBooks Online, but we are doing something as
Because
far as billing
Microsoft
goes.
has a software, Great Plains. They bought Great Plains because Bill Clinton didn't think Microsoft should buy into it because the infamous Bill Clinton, who never owned his own business. I mean, so now Microsoft has Word and PowerPoint and email. And if Bill Clinton would have let Bill Gates buy into it, every small business in the world would have been fixed. But I guess Monica didn't agree with that strategy.
No.
No,
And,
Monica. She's
but,
got other strategies.
Yeah. So I hope he does that because Get Weave.
Get
We all
Weave.
agree Weave
Yes.
is a great
It does
product.
a lot,
It
a
is.
lot of.
And I just want to tell
Thank
you that
you.
the only reason we have the #1 podcast in dentistry is because I'm able to get amazing guests on like you.
And you're uncensored. And it's because
And
you're uncensored.
Ross.
You are amazing.
Well, it's a good thing I brought her, because I don't know if I'd had that much to say in an hour.
Oh, Ross, I've listened to you all day lectures all the time.
And
But,
these guys are great. We love them.
Okay.
They're great.
Well, thanks for
Well, thank you. Thank you.
photo
Thank you.
bombing
Love
our
what you
show.
do. Do what you
Oh
love.
my gosh, she
That's-
wasn't even invited. She just barged
Yeah,
her
you
way
just barged.
in.
I invited her in.
Invited her, okay.
Thanks.
But wouldn't
Stick
you
with your
agree?
passion.
Love what you do what you love.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And
If you
I love
don't love it,
I
don't.
love you. And by the way, a lot of people got a big health scare on you. Is that okay to ask?
Oh,
About your
yeah,
health?
I'm good. Everything's copacetic. I go in annually to make sure that nothing's growing, and I'm fine.
She had a brain tumor about
Oh.
5 years ago,
2011, yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was a meningioma, non-malignant, and it was removed, and
Most of it's removed.
She
Some of it wasn't.
bounced right back.
Yeah,
Right
except
on.
I have Tourette's, so that's I use my brain tumor as an excuse to swear,
That's fantastic.
which is not true. I swear anyway, without the brain tumor.
Right on. Well,
Yeah.
when you had that scare
Thank you.
on
It's all
Dentaltown,
good.
lots of people.
You're so sweet. No,
Saying
it's all good.
prayers.
It's all good. Yeah, they didn't think I was going to be able to walk again, and here I am.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, glad to have you back. Dentistry
Good to
needs
see
you.
you. Yeah.
Thanks, Zach,
Thank you.
Thanks.
for working on his birthday.